Y'all, previously we were talking about using collisions to be able to actuate certain things in our levels. Here we're using it to open these doors, turn on lights. Then we talked a little bit about event dispatchers, which we're going to spend a little more time on, but this makes it so you can have an actor talk to other actors without being a part of that physical actor. You just set them up so they can speak to each other across a long distance. Now we're going to talk about not using collision for any of these, because really this platform right here is still using collision. Now we're going to use distance. We're going to use distance to an object to be able to like turn on this light, be able to actuate this little spinny dude right here. Notice when we get close enough he starts spinning, and then this light changes colors and turns on depending on how far away we are from that light. So to do that, we'll need to make a new actor. So I'm going to right click into our content folder right here. This is our user created assets. Click on blueprint class, go to actor. This one's going to be called ProxLight. And now let's go do Prox Illumination. There we go. It's a really long one for this one, but hey, why not? All right, a couple things we're going to need. We need some physical representation inside the level. So I'll do a sphere. The other ones had cylinders. I'm going to do a sphere this time. And we also need a point light. So we'll add the point light in. And that's just going to rest right in the middle of that sphere. The sphere itself, I'm going to set it up with a glass kind of look to everything. And let's see, that's glass material. We have other glass as well if you wanted to choose something a little bit different. There's some statue glass that has a little bit of a reflection on it. Just depends on what you want to do. So from here, I think I'd really like to make sure that you can see light coming out of this no matter where the light's at. So if you want that to shine out of an object and not have any shadow from it, then you want to go under the object that you want the light to come out of and uncheck cast shadow. Okay, pretty much everything's done here for our setup in the components list. Let's go over to our event graph. In the event graph, we don't need our event tick or begin overlap because, yet again, we're not worried about collisions this time. We're just going to need the event begin play. From there, what we want to do is we need to set up our player character. Our player character is the only thing we're really going to be looking for. And to do that, we're going to make an object reference to that player character. All right, so let's do player reference. Whoops, can't have any spaces, right? There we go. And just like we did with the button for the event dispatcher, we can just type in the name of that actor. So in this case, it's the third person character. Okay, that's our object reference. And the thing about this one's going to be a little different. We're going to set it with code instead of with an instance editable. And the reason we're going to do that is that whenever we set it with code, then we can actually do multiple players. We don't have to just set it, okay, this one button works with this one actor. Okay, and you'll see kind of what we're talking about here in just a second. So off event begin play, we're going to cast to third person character. Okay, the object we're looking for, and this is where you'll get the idea of how we can have multiple players attached to this, is get player character right there. Notice it has a player index. That player index can change, so we can have 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, however many players we might have on screen. Those can all be handled right here through this player index. Since it's player index 0, that's actually our first player because we always start counting by 0. At 0 with computer science. So that's why player index 0 is actually our first player, our only player in this case. All right, now I want to drag a player reference out. We're going to set this now. And we want to make sure you hook up the execution pins and the object reference to the object reference on the set so it knows which one we're working with. And as far as getting all the information from our character, we're good. Now we're going to make a little function that we're going to call over and over again as we're looking for the light to see where our player is. I'm going to right click right here. We're going to do add custom event. There we go. And this custom event I'm going to call player in range. Okay. Now for the player in range, that means like, is this player near us? Is it in a space where we're actually able to see it, or we want to start interacting with it? So to do that, what we're going to do is say like yes or no. Are we interacting with that? So we'll do a branch, because a branch helps us decide between two things. Are we inside that range or not? That'll be equivalent to true or false. And first thing we're going to do is get our distance. So we grab the player reference. This is very handy just to have running all the time. We don't have to go in and get a player character in the controller and everything over and over again. We just use that reference. And then we want to get distance 2. Now, if you do drag off the player reference and it goes into get distance 2, it's going to go into the target initially, but we actually want it to go into the other actor, because the other actor is the thing we're measuring too, their player character. I'm going to hit Alt and click on that, and notice now it says target and self. That's more what we're looking for. We want that initial target to be the actor itself, and then the other actor is our player. From here we have a float that we can get an actual distance, and we can compare it to the range that we want to use for this. So we'll drag this off, and we'll do less than or equal to, because we're trying to find out, are we within this range? In this case, I want it to go to the we want it to go to the top, and then our range will be right here, 800. Okay, that's kind of an arbitrary range. Relates to the number of centimeters or Unreal units that we have in the game. You can make it 1,000, you can make it 200, whatever you'd like. And then if this is within 800, then this Boolean right here will give us a true or false statement. So right up here at the top, we have a true, and that's going to make our light turn on. And we're going to animate our light with a timeline, just like we've done in the past. Add timeline. This one's going to be fade out and in. And when it's true, we want it to fade in. And let's go back to our viewport. The light that we have here, our point light, is set up with an intensity of, let's see here, light profilers, all this information. Where do we have it? There's our light. It's closed up. Right now it's set for 5,000. I'm going to set it for 50,000 so it's nice and bright. Also going to change this over to, let's do purple. I like kind of a nice purple here. And from the purple color, we're going to now go back into our event graph, and we want to grab a reference to that point light. Off the point light, we're going to set the intensity. And from the intensity, we want to use that float that we just made. Oh, we didn't make it yet, right? So we have to do that. That's something some people forget sometimes. We're going to make that float right now. And we're just going to call it fade. We're always going to start at the 0 mark. So we want to make sure our values start at 0. And then at about 1.5. 1.5 is where we want it to finish its fade in or fade out. And we'll set that value to 50,000 because that's what we thought would be a good one whenever it finishes. And we have 1.5. Let's do these zoom arrows so we can see that total track. And we're going to right click on these for an auto, so it'll auto make the Bezier curve for us. We don't have to do that ourselves. Everything's looking pretty good now. Now we have our float for the fade track. We'll hook that up. And we also want it to turn off, so we remember if we're getting a false off of that, we reverse it. So we're going to reverse everything we just did. We should be in good shape right here. We just haven't called this function yet. So to do that, off of our event begin play, we're going to type in player in range. There's our function. And then to keep running this loop, we'll also do it at the end of the function. Okay, everything's ready to go. We're going to drop this into our map real quick. It looks like a good spot. Notice that the light is already on, and that's okay. Once we walk into it, it'll start acting like we want it to. If you want it to start off, we want our intensity to be 0. Okay, so right now we are set for 0. Let's walk up to it. Hey, it turns on. We walk away, and it turns off. So we're in good shape. The only other thing that I would recommend to keep an eye on is whenever you're working on this, that we need to possibly add a delay in here. As a best practice, I would probably add a delay. Anytime you call a function again, you probably want to add a little delay in there, because if not, it's possible that the game engine will see it as an infinite loop. And so we want to go back in here. We're going to hit Alt-P again. That delay is not enough for us to really notice it, but the computer notices it. It says, oh man, we want, you guys are hanging around for a long time. That 0.2 seconds lasts forever. But for us, we barely even notice it. Okay, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys got some good stuff out of that, and you can refer to this for notes for later. Yay, going for a ride. Okay.